So JD Malat Gallery, we are in a London-based gallery. We opened in 2017 in London. We are on Davies Street, next to the Claridge's. So we're dealing with contemporary art. We represent around 20 contemporary artists from different nationalities, from Turkish artists, Chinese artists, American artists. We are very pleased at JD Malat Gallery to present this incredible exhibition, Atonal Drift, which is a new body of work by leading Turkish artist Zümrütoğlu.
The title of the new exhibition, Atonal Drift, references the musical composer Arnold Schoenberg's drift, as it were, from tonal to atonal music. If you listen to Schoenberg's Verklärte Nacht, translated as Transfigured Night, his Opus 4 of 1899, your ears will luxuriate in the late romantic colours of Schoenberg's earlier practice. It sounds quite Wagnerian. But if you listen to the second string quartet, some 10 years later, Opus 10 of 1907-8, you will find yourself breathing, quote, air from another planet, unquote, as the solo soprano sings, as the final section of the quartet drifts from tonality into atonality. And there is no signature for the first time in the history of music. No key signature. This exciting but discombobulating oral experience is so similar to the Zümrütoğlu. At interview, Zümrütoğlu told me that one of the artistic aims of himself and his friends is, quote, through our own experiences of literature and music, to discover what the dark truth of life is, and to have the terrible burden of carrying it and communicating it to people through our art. Zümrütoğlu's work appeals to me because I like the fact that he avoids preparatory drawings, preferring, like artists from the old master portraitist Frans Hals to the classic modern expressionist Francis Bacon, to develop his ideas organically as the paint hits the canvas. His canvases are often epic in both monumental form and size, and sometimes one is not enough, and they turn into triptychs. His painterly mark-making is similar in the sculptural ceramics introduced into this year's exhibition, Atonal Drift, and I like his increasing employment in his paintings of sgraffito, as this scratched intrusion into the surface paint is also sometimes experienced in the ceramic. The term figurative abstraction is really apt for Zümrütoğlu because the paintings work on two levels. The viewer, or at least this one, firstly sees abstract forms and colours which only metamorphose into figures from the real world as the viewing process starts to resolve itself. The figures, however, never really become figures but rather abstractions of animal and human bodies from the real world, sometimes even resolving into body parts such as eyeballs. Once these figures become apparent, they spontaneously explode into bodily parts and abstract forms once more. As some would see this as quite violent expressionism. I'd like to include the term expressionist because there is something visceral and full of movement which is not fully explained. The sculptures are very much three-dimensional versions of the paintings. All the qualities I've already mentioned are equally true of the sculptures, but there are extra qualities in the sculptures. The reflective gloss of the ceramic glazing provides an extra dimension to the fluidity of the paintings. In the sculptures, this fluidity becomes almost liquid and creates an uncanny sensation that the figures are emerging into abstract forms and vice versa. Likewise, the more grotesque aspects of the paintings, such as the contorted limbs, amputated eyeballs, become even more so in the new three-dimensional medium. It's a pertinent question that spectators should view the work in the flesh, given the recent necessary shift from real to virtual viewing due to COVID-19 and the lockdown. But for the full experience, you have to go and see them in the gallery, in the flesh, where the metamorphosis I mentioned, from abstract to figurative and back again, is able to take place because of the parallax viewing experience enabled by our stereoscopic eyes. The sculptures, like any sculptures, require a 360 viewing experience which can now be replicated virtually, but again will lack the present sense of scale and changing atmospherics of real light and shade when you see them in the gallery.